The India-Canada diplomatic row still continues as a media report has now claimed that Canada has evacuated its diplomatic staff from its High Commission in India, and it has now shifted them to some of its Southeast Asian nation partners. Now, according to reports by CTV, a majority of the Canadian diplomatic staff have now been shifted to either Singapore or to Kuala Lumpur. Now, there are at least 62 diplomats who are working in the Canadian High Commission in India. Until now, there is no official comment from New Delhi on the evacuation of the Canadian diplomats. The media report has come after the Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly said that the authorities in Ottawa are diplomatically engaged with India over the issue of staff reduction. India has asked Canada to withdraw its 41 diplomats from New Delhi by the 10th of October, while adding that if they fail to complete the withdrawal within the given deadline, then the officials will in fact end up losing their diplomatic immunity. Meanwhile, on the 5th of October, India's External Affairs Ministry said that they've sought parity in diplomatic presence. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi also stated that discussions are ongoing to achieve parity, given that the Canadian diplomatic presence is way higher in India. The latest report threatens to significantly intensify the crisis which broke out after Justin Trudeau's bizarre and wild claims that he made on the 18th of September, that Canada is investigating credible allegations that Indian agents could be behind the assassination of the Khalistan terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a Canadian terrorist in a suburban Vancouver. Meanwhile, India will be raising its issues with Canada's Senate Speaker Raymond Garnier during the upcoming Parliament's G20 meeting next week. The Indian Lower House Speaker Om Birla has confirmed that Canada, among presiding officers of 25 nations, will also be a part of the P20. Remember, P20 is a congregation of the parliamentary speakers from the parliaments of the G20 nations, which is scheduled to take place from the 13th till the 14th of October in India's national capital. And WION's principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Civil has been tracking this story and has sent us this report. Listen in.
India-Canada relationship remained frozen since the remarks made by the Canadian Prime Minister linking the death of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar with the Indian government. Now we know that since then India has been calling for parity in the number of the Canadian diplomats here in India versus the number of Indian diplomats in Canada, and it's well known that the number of Canadian diplomats are far in excess as compared to the Indian diplomats in Canada. But by and large, as part of this parity which New Delhi has been calling, the number of Canadian diplomats have left the country. According to Canadian media reports, they have gone to places like Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. But essentially, we also know that there will be a high-level visit from Canada, the visit of the Speaker of the Senate to attend the P20 speakers meeting next week here in Delhi. This is happening under the Indian presidency of the G20 grouping, and it's natural that the Indian side is expected to talk about these allegations made by the Canadian side. No proof so far has been given by the Canadian side over the allegations made by them, and India has been calling on Canada to provide proof, but there hasn't been any movement so far. But all in all, because of the remarks made by the Canadian Prime Minister, it is highly unlikely that there will be any normalization in the relationship for next few months or perhaps years as well. With video journalist Sanjeev Siddhant for WION in New Delhi.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.